Still fights itself, let's see. Drift mode, ESC off. That's the answer. It's for roads like this one. It's for momentum. It's for the joyous union of car and driver. What a car. Hey crew, let's compare the VW Golf R, Toyota GR Corolla, and Honda Civic Type R, all with a manual transmission. Hey crew, I've got the key to that 23 Volkswagen Golf R. And we are gonna take it for a drive. I'm sorry, I had to. But first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. The only styling changes for the 23 model year come with the 20th anniversary edition that brings like special badges and puddle lamps. We don't have that. So the standard Golf R gets an R logo beneath a blue accent and illuminated light bar connecting the LED matrix headlights with LED DRLs and turn signals. Those are above gloss black pieces with functional ventilation. And these little winglets here look like it's feeding the mouth when you take a look at the front. This one is painted in Lapis Blue Metallic, and the color really pops in the sunlight here on a cloudy day. Still looks good. At the side, the Golf R gets a set of 19-inch machined alloy wheels and a two-tone finish, wrapped in Bridgestone Summer Performance tires, 235 section front and rear. Within those wheels are upgraded brakes, drilled in slotted rotors, sized 14.1-inch front, 12.3-inch at the rear, clamped on by these blue painted brake calipers. More R logos on the side, matte silver mirror caps, and stepping back to look at the profile, it's a shape we are very familiar with at this point, and I love the classic proportions. I like the extended rear spoiler at the back as well, helping distinguish the R from the GTI. LED taillights are here with LED turn signals. There's another R logo in the center. You get a gloss black diffuser and 4 chrome exhaust outlets. Considering what Volkswagen is clearly going for with this vehicle, a more mature contrast to the boy racery Hot Hatchbacks, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. It looks premium while still having the spicy details. My question for you, is the design too modest for the performance? Hey crew, I've got the key to that 23 Honda Civic Type R. We are gonna take it for a drive. Couldn't help myself, I do apologize. But first, let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. This all-new FL5 generation is a complete reinterpretation of what exterior styling means for the Type R. Up front, we've got that red Honda badge, which is a callback to previous generation Type R vehicles. We've got a Type R badge to the right of that. Then LED reflector headlights, LED DRLs and turn signals. Down low are non-functional quarter vents, but then we do have functional brake ducts and this big functional air dam to cool the intercooler. Up on the hood is a functional heat extractor, and this vehicle is painted in championship white, which in my opinion is the best looking color for this car. At the side is a set of 19-inch flat black wheels with a really sharp design, wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4S tires, 265 section front and rear. Within those wheels are red painted Brembo brake calipers clamping on 13.8-inch ventilated rotors. Here you can see how they've just extracted the front wheel arches to wrap over those tires and include these functional air curtains behind them. There's black gloss for the side sills, for the mirror caps and window trim. Stepping back to look at the profile, the new CTR is still distinctly more menacing than the base Civic hatch, but it's not as overwhelming anymore to your senses. That was the FK8 generation. And at the back, we still have a giant rear wing, but somehow even this is more mature looking than the predecessor. There are also LED taillights with incandescent turn signals, Down low are some more non-functional corner vent pieces. Then there's gloss black for this pronounced diffuser and the now instantly recognizable triple exit exhaust. I love the stance of this new Civic. I love the clean power of its design. What do you guys think? Is this better or worse looking than the new Toyota GR Corolla? Let me know in the comments. Hey crew, I've got the key to that 23 Toyota GR Corolla Core model. We are going to take it for a drive, but first let's check out how it looks on the inside and outside. Up front, the face is dominated by this giant grille opening with functional cooling, including brake ducts, and then we have these slots on either side of the Toyota badge. There are LED projector headlights with LED DRLs and turn signals. Then down low are functional corner vents. This paint job is called Supersonic Red. It's got a nice metallic flake on the paint surface, and it just pops in the sunlight. At the side, core and circuit models get these gloss black 18-inch alloy wheels wrapped in Michelin Pilot Sport 4 tires, 235 section front and rear. Within those wheels are red painted 4-piston calipers clamped on slotted rotors. There's more functional aero here, GR badge, gloss black mirror caps, GR4 badge on the extended side sills, and on the core model you get a body color roof unlike the Circuit Edition's carbon fiber one. Stepping back to look at the profile, I like those wheels, but without the Circuit Edition's extended rear wing, it looks a little pedestrian. Too much like the standard Corolla hatchback, at least until you get to the back and you see these giant over fenders, which unlike the front fenders are not integrated in the body. They took the wide body Hellcat approach and just said, there you go. There are LED taillights with incandescent turn signals and a black plastic lower bumper with 3 exhaust ports that, unlike the Civic Type R, which clusters them all in the middle, these are spread out. I like the chunkiness of the rear, but the overall design is a bit too tuner car-esque for me. What do you guys think? Is this better or worse looking than the new Civic Type R? Let me know in the comments. Opening up and looking inside at this black leather interior with blue leather accents around the headrests and this carbon fiber style weave thing around the seat borders. The rear seats are heated as standard, and there are blue details on the carpeted floor mats. On the doors, hard plastics up high. You do get leatherette padding here for the insert and armrest. One touch up down windows, more hard plastics down low, and a standard Harman Kardon sound system. Stepping in behind my own seat at 6 feet tall. The knees have some breathing room. There are pockets here perfect for your smartphone. And this, what we still call the map pocket, but no one uses maps anymore, is good for stuff. The foot pockets are good size to slide my feet under. Thigh support is kind of just okay though. Headroom is good. Head clears the roof by a lot. That gets the thumbs up from me. There are air vents in the middle, plus a third zone of climate control with 2 USB-C ports down low. The drop shaft dump is big but not insurmountable. And while I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for a long haul, you could fit 3 full-size adults in the second row, maybe just to get around the corner for lunch with your coworkers. If you don't have a middle passenger, then there's an armrest that comes down with leather padding and 2 cup holders plus a espresso holder. Not really sure what that is. Opening up and looking inside at this red and black interior with fabric seats and red contrast stitching, red seat belts, red carpets, red floor mats. Those are terribly difficult to keep clean, by the way. On the doors, hard plastics up high. Then we move into suede for the inserts, padded suede for the armrest with more red stitching, power windows, not one touch, hard plastics down low, and a standard 12-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. Stepping in, easy to do. Behind my own seat at 6 feet tall, I've got loads of knee room, nice Type R badge, big foot pockets to slide my feet under, thigh support is solid, headroom is kind of mixed. So if I try to get my head back to that headrest, my head's pressed against the roof uncomfortably. But if I'm in a more natural seating position, then I've got some clearance. So it's gonna be one of these for me. There are no air vents in the middle or USB ports. There's also not a middle seat, no middle seat belt here. We have cup holders instead, and there is no armrest that comes down. So for 4 adults, we can make it work back here. You just won't have a lot of luxuries. Opening up and looking inside at this black interior with fabric seats on the core model that have some contrast stitching on the doors. It's hard plastics high and low with just a bit of fabric padding for your arm and an integrated cup holder. Stepping in is pretty easy to do. Behind my own seat at 6 feet tall, I've got just a little bit of leg room. There are no map pockets. The foot pockets are decent to slap my feet under, but thigh support is lacking. Headroom. My head does clear the roof with a little bit of space, so that gets the thumbs up from me. There are no air vents in the middle or on the sides. You do have a 1 USB-C port and 1 DC outlet to share. The draft shaft hump is large, but the real issue for getting into the middle is this narrow alley. But you can do it, and my head does clear the roof. The issue being that there isn't a lot of space on the left and right hand sides of me for other adults. So if you want adults back here, just keep it to 2. If you don't have a middle passenger also, then there's an armrest that comes down with 2 cup holders and some padding. So it's just the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. The front 2 doors have smart keyless entry. The front seats are more heavily bolstered than the backs, with these blue accents and that carbon fiber styling coming up the side. Our logos on the seat backs, perforated seat centers. The front seats are both heated and ventilated as standard. The driver's seat gets multi-way power adjustments and 3-position memory. The passenger seat gets a hybrid setup of manual and power adjustments, and both of those are beneath a standard power sunroof. The foot pedals have aluminum accents, and you'll notice this car has 3 pedals because we've got the manual gearbox. The front doors look similar to the back, but this piece is injection molded now. There's more carbon fiber styling here. This is definitely not carbon fiber trim, and it's not textured. There are power adjusting, not power folding door mirrors. No release for the hatch from up here. Instead, we come to the back, put our hand at the top of the VW logo, then pull from the bottom to reveal just under 20 cubic feet of space behind the second row, which does fold down 60/40. You can reach the tabs from back here, but it's easier if you remove the cargo cover. They do fold almost completely flat, giving you just under 35 cubic feet of space. To close the hatch, there's no formal handle to pull. Instead, this icon indicates you put your hand here and you pull towards you. What do you know? It works every single time. Hopping in the driver's seat, we find a leather wrap steering wheel with perforations at 9 and 3 and great sport grips for your hands to slot into. Little flat bottom design going on. Touch sensitive controls on the wheel. These work pretty well, but then it gets very smudgy with fingerprints. Driving aids are on the left. On the right, we find reconfigurations for your digital gauge cluster with quite a few different views to choose from and further customizations of what's going on the left and right hand sides of the screen. Head-up display, injection molding up on the dashboard, more of that fake carbon fiber trim. 10-inch touchscreen infotainment system has nice graphics and it's pretty responsive, but the menu structure can be irritating. For example, if I want to adjust the stability control, I have to go to Vehicle, swipe right, hit brakes, then hit the drop down, and then choose what I want. Way too many steps. There's no volume knob either, so you just have this slider, which is imprecise while driving. You can't just do incremental adjustments. It's just not as intuitive as a knob. Same thing with climate control. It's a slider or you tap up or down. The problem with this is that I'm constantly hitting the volume when I'm just resting my hand here to operate the infotainment system. This needs a rethink. I need a physical home button as well. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Beneath the screen are additional icons for things like drive modes. 2 USB-C ports are hidden under here. There's a wireless charging pad. Lots of gloss black trim, which just collects dust like a magnet. Leather wrap shift boot with blue stitching. Leather wrapping on the back side of the shifter with a plastic topper. Then we've got 2 cup holders. This one can clamp onto your bottle. There's a DC outlet. Leather topping with blue accenting for your adjusting armrest / console lid with just a bit of storage inside. Visibility is excellent. And there's standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic. This cabin is very feature rich for the money and quite upscale looking, but the technology here and some of the trim materials are a bit of a bummer. There is no way to open the trunk from the front, so we'll just do it from back here. And inside the hatch, we find 25 cubic feet of space. There's an integrated cargo cover here. If you want to expand your storage options, then you'll pull up on these tabs, which you can reach from the trunk, and the seats will fold 60-40. Under the floor is an inflation kit, no spare tire. There are these two handles built in to close up the trunk lid. Don't mind the sound, that's just my license plate cover. Smart keyless entry for the front two doors. The front seats, look at these sport buckets with Type R integrated there. We've got the pass-throughs for your racing harness, some perforations on the seat, manual adjustability, Type R for the floor mats, aluminum foot pedals, and yes, of course, there are 3. This is a manual-only car. Same materials on the front doors as the back, but we add power one-touch windows for the front with power adjusting, not power folding door mirrors. Moving inside. Ooh, so squishy. Drivers get a leather-wrapped steering wheel with red contrast stitching. It's the perfect size and thickness in your hands. There is a digital instrument cluster that is reconfigurable via this dial on the left. Then we've got no head-up display, some injection molding, a 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system that, looks a little tacked on onto the dashboard, but it's so user-friendly and it's responsive. We've got a physical volume knob, then we've got 2 hotkeys and some seat controls. There is wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Beneath the screen is a dual-zone climate system with these substantial dials. There's a Type R chassis number plate on the passenger side, 2 USB-A ports and a DC outlet, wireless smartphone charging pad. So glad to see this is not gloss black. It's a metal-looking plastic trim. We've got an aluminum gear shift lever, leather shift boot, drive mode selection, 2 cup holders with some open storage under the suede-topped console cover. We've got just a little bit of additional storage space. Visibility is acceptable. Those little rear windows do help. We do have the wing kind of in your way, and then these big seats in the front can sometimes block your view. Thankfully, there's standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic. The Type R's cabin has plenty of sporty touches, all of the red, the aluminum gear shift lever, these big chunky seats. The technology is solid. The only critiques are in the rear passenger space and amenities. Smart keyless entry is for the front 2 doors. These front seats have the GR logos on them and some solid bolstering. Once again, they are fabric and manually adjusting. We have the optional carpeted floor mats with GR Corolla on them and our 3 pedals with aluminum fascias on the doors. Same materials as the back. We do have 1 power, 1-touch up-down window for the driver, power adjusting, not power folding door mirrors, and this one with the tech package adds an 8-speaker JBL sound system. No trunk release, or hatch rather, so you got to do it manually. And inside, we find 17.8 cubic feet of space. Not bad, with these deep cubbies on either side. The floor is kind of high, but it creates a flat surface. And underneath that, we find our battery and just a little bit of storage. You can fold down the rear seat 60-40 by reaching in and pulling up on those tabs. And I suppose that is one of the perks of having a small vehicle, that you can actually reach those. You just may have to remove the cargo cover. There are 2 handles to pull down the hatch. You just have to give it a good firm tug. Don't worry, that rattle was my license plate cover. In the front seats, which are so easy to get in, I love that. We've got a leatherette wrapped steering wheel with contrast stitching and GR Corolla logo on the bottom. Lots of buttons on the wheel to control various things, including the reconfigurable digital instrument cluster. We've got soft touch injection molding up on the dashboard, and then an 8-inch touchscreen infotainment system that's running the latest Toyota software, so it's responsive. The graphics are pretty sharp. It's fairly easy to use. It does often, actually all the time, tell you that you need to purchase navigation though, so that's annoying. It does have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, along with a physical volume knob, a single zone of auto climate control, lots of gloss black up here, and all throughout the console area to collect dust, smudge, and scratch. Wireless smartphone charging pad with a tech pack, USB-C port, 6-speed manual gear selector with a leather-wrapped shift boot, and a manual handbrake. Bring these back with contrast stitching, nice. Your power split is there, 2 cup holders, and without a console, you just have this textured pad to store your wallet, I suppose. Visibility is good, and there's standard blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic. So while the cabin may not be abounding in space or amenities, and though a lot of the materials are cheaper, it does check the boxes. Let's fire it up. Get a little rumble from the turbo for its startup, but it keeps it modest. And once the infotainment system is good to go, we can select our drive mode. Come on. Come on. I'm not going to cut any of this. I want you to see how long it takes. All right, now we're good. I'm going to go into comfort. There we are. And down goes the e-brake. To go into reverse, press down on the gear selector over and up to the left. That brings up a high-resolution camera system. And you've got another angle here, the ultra-wide view. I love this view. You can see what's going on around you. Into first, and we will begin with a turning radius test. Wheel fully cranked. It's pretty good for an all-wheel drive vehicle. The wheelbase isn't terribly long. Turn signal sound. It's a little loud. I don't mind the tone at all, though. And the world-famous horn test. Ooh, what in the name? It was so loud inside the cabin and really high-pitched. Didn't like that at all. Moving on to the powertrain. We have a 2.0-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder under the hood that makes 315 horsepower, and depending on your gearbox choice, you either, with a 6-speed manual, make 280 pound-feet of torque, or with the 7-speed dual clutch, you make 295 pound-feet. But whichever gearbox you choose, that power is routed to all 4 tires via a variable all-wheel drive system. And with peak torque coming in from just 1900 RPM, it doesn't matter that we're in the comfort drive mode. The boost is right there when you need it to get up to speed. And let's talk about this transmission for a second, because I have some qualms with it. First, the shifter. It's a very bizarre shape. Like, if I wanted to shift always with my hand on top of it, then it's a nice flat surface, but I don't shift like that. I shift with my hand around the shifter. And so therefore the shape of this, not being something more traditional like a cue ball or even the cylinder that you get in the Civic Type R, is a bit bizarre to hold. I can't say I like that. The actual gearbox itself, well, the clutch has a long pedal travel and the friction point is very communicative, but the release point is less so. I found myself, at least the first couple days driving this, just not sure whether I'd actually engaged the gear and I was clear to release the clutch pedal fully, and so there was a bit of bucking that was happening there. The gearbox, the throws, are longer and looser than I would like. The notch into each gear is a nice click. It's a nice click into each gear, and so that part is enough communication for me. But the throws themselves, I gotta swim a long ways before I actually get to the notch for the gear. The ride quality, though, gets a whole lot of praise from me. This adaptive damper setup dulls the impacts of harsh road imperfections very, very well, especially for this price point and especially for the sporty intentions of the Golf R. This is very daily drivable. The seats are extra comfortable. I had a 2.5-hour stint behind the wheel driving from here to Palm Springs, and I was no less fatigued from the start to the end of my journey. Let's fire it up. Couple animations and we are live. Not a very dramatic startup from that 4-cylinder. And the first thing I gotta say is when you're climbing into the Civic Type R and it's super chilly in the morning, this aluminum gear shift lever will freeze your hand. And by contrast, If it's very hot, so you're getting out of work and you're coming into your car, it's been sitting in the sun all day, it will scald your hand. So you may need to bring like a rag with you or something to put over it for the first couple miles of your driving, because unless the ambient temperature is perfect, this thing is sort of a nightmare, but then it feels great in the hands. So just got to put that out there. All right, e-brake is down. We're going to go all the way over and to the right to go into reverse. That brings up a pretty low resolution backup camera system. We do have a super wide view and a narrower view, plus an over the head view. And we'll back on out of here. Trajectory lines, so nice. And into first. We're beginning with our drive mode selector here in the comfort setting, and let's do the world famous horn test. Dinky dinky, dinky dinky horn. We're gonna follow that up with a turning radius test. It's a little wide. I mean, you got to give those front tires a break. They're wider than the predecessors, and they're both tasked with turning the vehicle and applying the power. So usually front drive vehicles don't have amazing turning radiuses. This one isn't awful. What's great is that the ride height is such that you don't really have to worry very much about going down or up steep curves, driveways rather, and worrying about the scraping. Powertrain in the Civic Type R. We've got the same 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder as the predecessor, but thanks to a new turbocharger design, an improved air intake system, and an active exhaust that is more free-flowing, we're making a whopping 9 more horsepower than before and an additional 15 pound-feet of torque. That puts our totals at 315 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. We can listen to that turn signal sound, which is almost soothing and in no way disruptive. Speaking of soothing, as manual transmissions go, when dealing with things like traffic, this one in the Civic Type R is about as good as it gets. The engagement point of the clutch is so communicative. The throws of the gearbox are really clean, and there's a nice notch into each gear, which takes out the mystery of the task. And it's not as tedious as operating a manual can be. Yeah, it's not as convenient as an automatic transmission, but when you look at the other side of things and all that you gain with the 6-speed in terms of your engagement as a driver, this is well worth it. Let's fire it up. It's a heavy kickstart and then a pretty seriously deep idle from that 4-cylinder. There's our warning about navigation, and our drive mode select is here, so we'll begin in the normal mode. Our power split at this moment is 60 front, 40 rear, and you can change that up with this dial to go 50-50 or 30 front and 70 rear. To go into reverse, pull up on the inner ring over to the left and up. That brings up a kind of low resolution backup camera. You don't have trajectory lines. Down on the manual handbrake, and let's back on out. Into first. And let's begin with the turning radius test. Really nice and tidy. It's a small wheelbase, so that helps, but it is 4-driven wheels. You'd think it might be larger than that, but it just maneuvers so nicely. Turn signal sound. Is just relaxing as turn signals go. And we'll wait for this car to pass to do the world famous horn test. Here goes. Ooh. Little dinky thing. I'm also going to turn on the rev match feature just to experience that. And let's talk powertrain. The GR Corolla is powered by a 1.6 liter turbocharged 3-cylinder that makes 300 horsepower and 273 pound-feet of torque in both the core and circuit editions. If you go with the track-focused Morizo, then that ups the torque to 295 pound-feet. Either way, the only gearbox you are allowed to choose is the right one. It's the 6-speed manual. And what a peach this gearbox is. The throws are short and notch neatly into place. Tons of communication there. The clutch pedal is a longer travel, but a distinct engagement point. This is just a very easy manual to drive. And if this is your first performance vehicle, this is going to be a great way to become very proficient with manual setups. In normal mode, the throttle response is at ease, but with peak torque coming in from just 3,000 RPM, you don't have to wait a very long time at all for the boost to build up and you to get really into some surging power. Easy to modulate for daily driving situations, that's for sure. The ride quality is on the bumpier side. These are sport-tuned springs. You do have additional chassis stiffening compared to the standard Corolla hatchback, and you feel that. You sort of bound over road imperfections. But the impacts are not harsh, and these seats are so crazy comfortable that the bumps don't really seem to bother you. The ride in the GR Corolla is a little, though not a lot, better than the Honda Civic Type R. Moving on to a demonstration of real-world 0 to 60 performance in the Golf R manual. I've got my race box set up here, and stability control is in sport because when I had it fully on, it was robbing power with every gear change. So into first, revving it out. There's 60 in 5.66 seconds. Let's take a quick intermission with our race box setup here to do a 0 to 60 test. .3 seconds to 60 is what I got. So with my race box set up here, I'm moving into the sport drive mode. I'm hitting the track button to put the power split at 50-50, and then I'm hitting the traction control button once. And there is no launch control, so we'll see how good I can get this launch off the line. .91 seconds is not great. I am going to fault myself for that, but 5.91 seconds to 60 is about 0.9 of a second slower than independent tests have seen for this car. Now, we're not on a prep surface, and we were taking off from a slight uphill, but it's going to be user error for that. What I did feel was zero loss of traction out of the hole, and a nice surge of that torque as we tore away from the stoplight. Well, one of the first things I noticed is the additional weight of the steering, but it's not just heavier, it loads up perfectly in the corners to communicate the grip, which is quite sufficient with the all-wheel drive system. The turn-in is immediate, the brakes have good bite to them, and with the stiffened suspension, the body stays nice and flat through the corners. Still not loving this gearbox. Here especially now in a sportier application, I want shorter throws. This feels like, I hate to say it, but an economy gearbox. Otherwise, this is really fun to drive this car. I'm not really feeling the absence of the 15 pound-feet of torque compared to the dual clutch version of the Golf R. It's got plenty of poke out of corners. The ELSD up front can distribute that torque very well. And there's no torque steer anymore. It's a variable ELSD. So it's not just all the power to the tire with grip. It kind of feeds it gently. So I don't have the yanking of the steering wheel when I go full throttle. The overwhelming sensation here is just one of smoothness. The Golf R is very in control of itself. And asks to be pushed harder. I like hearing more of that Turbo 4 as well. The note isn't one of complaint. It's one of feistiness. You know what I would really appreciate is the option for rev matching. I thought about this in traffic, thinking about how, man, if there was a way for it to auto blip the throttle and rev match those shifts, I wouldn't need to do that when just moseying around. And here, in a canyon environment, I would like the option to turn it off to practice the blipping of the throttle myself, the heel-toe shifting. But it would be nice if it was available if I wanted it on. You don't get that. You're doing it yourself. Getting back to some praise for the Golf R, the neutral handling. It does not feel like it's really desiring to plow the nose. It'll do it if you misuse the car in a corner. If you just crank the wheel and map the throttle and hope that it'll sort itself out with neutral handling, it's not going to work that way. But if you work around it, if you do a bit of trail braking, or if you can just gently massage your way through the curve, then you can rely on the torque vectoring system in the back to distribute up to 100% of the 50% max available torque side to side. So we'll bring the back end around as you lay in the throttle to help you exit the curve with the right amount of rotation. Yeah, you could have fun. You could have a lot of fun behind the wheel. And to return to the rev match feature, or lack thereof for just a moment, at least since you're having to rev match yourself, the pedal placement is right for you to easily drag your right foot over, not bringing it fully off the brake to get that heel, blip the throttle, and match those revs in a not uncomfortable way. Now, could the launch have been done more perfectly? Yes. Could the shifts have been a little cleaner? Sure. But that's kind of the point of a real-world 0 to 60 test. You're not always going to get the perfect launch. You're not always going to get every shift just right. Independent tests who have flogged a Golf R manual again and again on a test track to get the quickest time have seen the very high, like 4.9 seconds, or very low 5s. With the dual clutch, you're consistently seeing pretty much like 4.6 seconds across the board. Not only is that dual clutch more consistent to launch the Golf R, but it also gets that extra 15 pound-feet of torque to get you there quicker. And those aren't the real reasons why I would actually choose the dual clutch over this manual. It's because this gearbox is such a humdrum affair. It feels like an afterthought. And so while I'm a big advocate for more manuals in good performance vehicles, I want them to be engineered properly, not just the lackluster effort that I feel from this. It's not like the manual transmission ruins the driving experience in this car. It's just, unlike so many other vehicles equipped with manuals, it doesn't add to the experience. It doesn't make it more fun. And that is a bummer, isn't it? But you think about it this way. The louder NVH matches the price point, and the bouncier ride matches the sporting intentions of the Civic Type R. Those are the only two real drawbacks to this vehicle as a family commuter. But what about the good stuff? What about the cream filling to the Honda Civic Type R? Well, we're going to go into the sport drive mode and just kind of get a feel for things to start. We've got peak torque coming in from just 2,600 RPM and peak power resting up at 6,500. The recalibrated rev match feature is turned on at the moment. So if you didn't want to blip the throttle to your heel-toe downshifts, you wouldn't have to. I do it anyway, because I like to practice. When you feel the surge of that boost come on, it does make you want to giggle a little bit. And the stability coming out of corners and the way this car puts the power down is helped immensely by the standard limited slip differential on the front axle. And when you are blipping the throttle, you get a sense of the lightened flywheel for this new FL5 generation. It revs quicker and the whole car just feels lighter. These Brembo brakes help the car feel light too, because they scrub speed so easily. Love that shift light indicator and the audible cue when it's time to move on to the next gear. And I'm such a fan of Honda's steering, which they have retuned for the new Civic Type R. It's frighteningly close to the amount of feedback you get from Porsche products, which is such high praise. It's perfectly balanced. You know precisely how much grip you have. There is wonderful energy to the way the CTR works through curves. And to enjoy the Civic Type R at its peak, I've gone into the Plus R drive mode that puts a horizontal tachometer up on the gauge cluster. And for fun, I've also thrown up all of our available gauges on the infotainment screen. You can hear that active valve exhaust system with a really sweet note. They increase the RPM at which they unleash the active valve, and it does change the sound. The clatter of the four-cylinder at low RPM has disappeared. And the sound profile is a bit more immersive than in the FK8. Which just adds to the fun. yeah, I like that noise. But I will be the first to tell you, I am not a pro at launching a manual transmission car on the right surface, not this one, and with the right operator, not this guy. You can get the Civic Type R to 60 in as quick as the very high 4-second range or the very low 5-second. But really, this car is not about drag races. You're misusing it if that's what you got it for. It's for roads like this one. It's for momentum. It's for the joyous union of car and driver. And it delivers on that mission statement better than its predecessor. No, it is not a revelation compared to the FK8, but it does improve upon that car in both measurable and sensory ways. Not to mention the fact that it is now no longer something that you are frankly embarrassed to be seen in. So in my mind, the new CTR is just a freaking knockout. Which leads me to the MilesPerHr word of the day, which is enthralling, meaning holding the attention completely. Because when you're driving the CTR in an environment like this, you can't possibly think of anything else. You're just smiling. You're just grinning. You're thinking about how to get through that next corner quicker. And then you're leaning on the immense capability of this car to execute your vision. And that continues in the mid-range where peak torque holds on until 5,500 RPM. So if you find yourself in that sweet spot, saddle up, because the GR Corolla will get ripping. And I like that raspy rumble, along with the blow-off noise. Listen to the cutoff. And all of these noises, the exhaust, the blow-off, the rumble, it gives you this sense of theater to the car that helps put a smile on your face in addition to the sheer velocity. And the steering is wonderful. The resistance builds nicely through a curve. The car tracks great. The gearbox is smooth. And the fun is brimming through this driving experience. And as we move into a more tight and technical environment, this is a great time to mention that this core model has the performance package. So we don't have open differentials. We've got front and rear torsion limited slips to help us put the power down. And when I turn this dial to the right, that's going to put the torque split at 30 front, 70 rear, allowing you to do fun things like sling the back around. The brakes bite in nicely. And the car does rotate. Though even back in the track modes 50-50, I don't get understeer here. I just have really nice neutral handling. Lovely turn in and playfulness. The GR Corolla honestly drives lighter than its 3,252 pounds suggests. The way you can just flick it. The way it effortlessly scrubs speed. Where you can feel like you could just grab it by the scruff of the neck and chuck it through corners. It makes you want to do this kind of stuff all day. What a car. Well, crew, the battle of the manual hot hatches did not disappoint. In terms of quickness, the Honda Civic Type R edged out the others with a 5.3 second run to the Golf R's 5.6 seconds and the GR Corolla's 5.9. It is worth noting that the dual clutch auto Golf R is a low 4-second car, and as of 2026, that's the only gearbox available. Inside, the Civic Type R offers a handsome dashboard and possibly the most comfortable seats in any performance car. Just watch out for that manual shifter in extreme temperatures. Meanwhile, the Golf R's cabin is upscale and streamlined. The GR Corolla has a budget feel by comparison and is certainly less exciting than the Civic, which gets my vote. Tech isn't a big draw in this segment, but all three cars get by with digital gauges and usable infotainments. The Golf R's screen as of 2025 is larger, but still lacks enough physical controls. The Civic has a nice mix of touch and analog inputs, but lower quality displays. The GR Corolla's interface is minimalist. This is going to be a tie between the VW and the Honda. Around town, the Golf R is by far the most compliant and forgiving, while the Corolla and Civic never really let you forget their sporting intent. Casual drives in the Volkswagen are just so much more pleasant. As commuters, all cars benefit from adaptive cruise control, though still require shifting, and some level of lane keep assist. The Golf is noticeably quieter at highway speeds, but the clutch feel and shifting action are clearer in the Civic and Corolla. Considering you can adapt to the VW clutch, I'd say it's the nicest commuter of the bunch. But the story changes when the road gets twisty. Yes, the Golf R is entertaining and will even begrudge you a donut or two from its variable all-wheel drive. But the GR Corolla counters with loads of character from its 3-cylinder, tight handling, and a playful drivetrain. The Civic is the only front drive car, so its dynamics are different, but arguably sharper and more rewarding. The decider between the Honda and Toyota might be the CTR's 15 extra horses and 15 pound-feet of torque compared to a 26 model GR Corolla. Beauty is in the eye of the enthusiast, and certainly there are versions of the GR Corolla that are better looking than others, but to me, the FL5 CTR and current-gen Volkswagen Golf R walk the line perfectly between sport and sophistication. If I had to pick, the Golf R is a tad more upscale. Price has changed a little since my 2023 reviews, but still, the GR Corolla is the least expensive. Its $41,000 starting figure is several grand less than the others, but a more comparably equipped Premium Plus trim is only $900 cheaper than a $48,000 CTR and a couple grand less than a $50,700 Golf R. Now look, the GR Corolla may not have any clear wins, but in no way does that make it a bad hot hatchback. In fact, if I had any inkling of rallying, I'd pick the Toyota in a heartbeat. In normal circumstances, though, it's a choice between the sharp Special CTR and the premium Speed Machine Golf R. If I didn't mind an automatic, I'd scoop up a 26 Golf R, while a manual from the last couple of years is just less appealing. Meanwhile, an FL5 CTR from any model year is very attractive for manual enthusiasts. But which would you choose? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this comparison. Let me know which vehicles you want to see matched up next.